Hey guys, this is Aaron Etheridge, president of Console Classics, and this is a brief review of Atari's new Yar's Revenge game, which was released on April 13th of this year. The technology has certainly changed in the 30 years since the original game's release, and what constitutes an arcade smash now is very different from what it was in 1981. The original game was charming in its elegant simplicity and had thousands of young players nibbling their way to high scores. The new release leaves something of that simplicity behind it with a wide array of controls, optional weapons, and even story-related motivations. Yar's Revenge is certainly a modern arcade game with all the bells and whistles. It actually uses both of the Xbox's joysticks. One is used to move our valiant heroine as she dodges the multitude of incoming enemy projectiles. The other moves the target reticle. This disjoint control system allows the players to dodge and target independently, but it makes the learning curve a little steep, in my opinion. For players that are already familiar with this system, I'm sure that moving and targeting is just a matter of instinct. For those of us who are a little less familiar with that particular configuration, it's a little bit confusing. Fortunately, the game makes allowances for different city levels. The artwork of the game is truly beautiful, and its representation both of landscape and creatures is varied and attractive. The still shots presented during the storyline cutscenes are very reminiscent of anime comic books. During one of these scenes, the artist actually took the opportunity to tip their caps to the past by giving the heroine a retro-style Yar's Revenge tattoo. I personally felt that was an excellent touch. The enemies themselves offered a great amount of variety and ranged from flying one-hit fodder to massive ground beasts that your basic weapon just can't take out. The screen is almost constantly filled with a wide variety of potential death and incoming danger. Fortunately, there are a number of ways to respond to these threats. The first and most simple is the pulse laser. It has limitless ammunition and a high fire rate, but does relatively low damage, and it's just not capable of taking out larger enemies. The second option of destruction, as it were, is in the form of a rail gun. This can only be fired once every few seconds, but does considerable damage and quickly knocks out problems that the pulse laser just isn't able to deal with. The player also has at their disposal a number of missiles. These missiles are collected during gameplay, and up to 8 targets can be selected during a single missile volley. They're very useful for crowd control, and they also take out the larger enemies that the pulse laser just won't knock out. At some point in the game, you also are able to unlock the mighty Zorlon Cannon, which does truly massive damage once you've acquired it. There's also a number of interesting and useful power-ups that you can pick up throughout the game. The first is Shield, which makes you temporarily invulnerable. It also partially restores your health bar. The Defender shoots down enemy projectiles with what seems to be lightning bolts. The screen is usually so full of enemy blasts that setting off the Defender makes it look like a summer thunderstorm. The Seeker, surprisingly enough, seeks out and destroys enemy targets, whereas the Annihilator temporarily increases the power of your weapons. At the end of each level, there's a unique boss fight. Each of the bosses seem to have at their command a number of different Yar killing capabilities, ranging from summoning other baddies to blasting away with super beam weapons. All these fights seem to differ greatly, and each offers its own challenge, really. The game itself offers the players the chance to take on 3 specific challenges from the very right at the starting menu. The challenges are Berserker, which apparently gives you unlimited ammunition, but you don't have any shields. A Hardcore challenge, which there again leaves you with no shields, but also cuts your life bar in half. And finally, there's Juggler, which apparently deals damage to you if at any point you lose your score multiplier. Which for me was basically all the time, so Juggler would have just been tantamount to watching my character fly along and die. However, there are rewards for those who overcome. There's a leaderboard that actually tracks the high scores of people who find that kind of competition enjoyable. There's a number of achievements for those who can never get enough. The achievements range from simply managing to start the game by defeating all the way to defeating the entire game using only the pulse laser. I did manage to get the achievement for starting the game, and you get a virtual t-shirt to put on your Xbox character, so I guess that's cool. Whatever skill level you're at, there's an achievement somewhere that you can get. The storyline of the game seemed interesting and compelling, but sadly also leads me straight into the game's shortcomings. As I said before, the cutscenes were done in a moving still shot style. The dialogue was presented in the form of subtitles. To be honest, this was a disappointment. I'd hoped that the cutscenes were, first of all, going to be fully animated. I like the artistic style. I like the anime style that they went with. But seeing it, as just sort of still shots, a camera moving around on still shots, really limited the enjoyment of the art style. And I expected it to be fully voiced over. And it wasn't. What we got was subtitles. Another limitation to the storytelling method was that the dialogue moves at its own pace without waiting for any user input. Like I said, that would be that alone is annoying. They coupled that with the fact that the dialogue was set up for someone who's a speed reader. I personally am a fairly fast reader. There was no way I could catch all of the dialogue that was literally flashing on the screen. I went through most of the storyline with the feeling that I had missed some very important background information. There's no way to go back and find out what I missed. And all this could have been fixed with a wait for button catch at the end of every dialogue. I mean, this is pretty common stuff. Adding a press B to skip the story option would have left everybody satisfied. Instead, what we got, was a subtitle being flashed at us at a speed that's too fast to read, and I guess for people that are wanting to skip it, it's probably too slow. The tutorials could have been done better as well. Really, they should have been offered to the players a separate tutorial level rather than just kind of tacked onto the front of the main game. Like I said, the dual joysticks takes a little bit of getting used to. I would have really enjoyed a tutorial level with some stationary targets to try and shoot at as I got accustomed to the controls. Both the tutorial and help screens are too small to be easily read on anything smaller than, say, a 50-inch television at least. And the help screens are actually less helpful than the tutorial screens simply because they were put at a very artistically pleasing but hard to read angle. They were so small in order to read what some of the extras and all. We actually moved the game to a larger television in order to be able to read what we were finding in the game, what these items were and what effects it would have when we use them. In spite of the fact that this is an arcade style game, I would really have liked to have seen upgrades that went with me from one level to another, or even a leveling system where I could invest points in targeting or something like that would make targets easier to hit, kind of like what we saw in Mass Effect. I understand that a change like that would have taken away from the arcade feel of the game, but I feel like it would have been more supportive of the background story, and it would have really made me feel more invested in the character. And here again, these are very small changes that could have been optional. You could have played through the entire game without any kind of leveling system, or it turned the leveling system on, which in essence made the game easier to play through the further you went through it and the more experience your character gained. The final word of complaint I have is that the original game wasn't included in the extra features. I'm not sure why that was. Maybe there was a licensing issue, or maybe it was just an oversight, but I think it would have been a great addition. I mean, the original game was an arcade powerhouse. It really was remarkable. It really is remarkable. And I understand that Atari is very excited about this new game and that it is something new. And it's very different from the original, but just like the original, this is an arcade game. It's an arcade style game. 30 years ago, that meant something different than it does today. But the roots of this game are 30 years old. And I mean, this is a game that could have been tacked in at very little, if any, expense. And I think it would have added something to the entire package. All in all, to be honest, I feel like the game is a spiritual sequel to the original. It's a heart-pumping, adrenaline-filled, blow-the-bad-guys-away shooter. For 1981, that's exactly what the original Yar's Revenge was. That's what we've got in this new game. I definitely feel like it's worth the $10 that they're charging for it. And I hope that this game spawns more Yars-related gaming in the future. Personally, I would be interested in seeing what can be done in RPG direction. I realize that has nothing to do with the original spirit of the game, but the thing is, they've already added storyline elements, and I would like to see those filled out. Maybe something like an action RPG where you do have the arcade style gameplay maintained, but things with like equipment and leveling and things of that nature to add an RPG feel to it, and even storyline options where perhaps you could defeat levels out of sequence, where you have more control and more opportunity of self-expression, I guess, than what you have in this package. But like I say, all in all, definitely worth the $10. I think it is definitely addition to the Yar's Revenge franchise and the Yar's Revenge universe. All in all, I suggest you guys come up off the $10, check it out. I think you may very well enjoy it. If you like arcade style games, this is definitely an excellent addition to your collection. And that's all we got time for today. I hope you guys found all this informative. Be sure to check us out at consoleclassics.com, and hopefully here in the near future we're going to be doing more reviews and providing more and more information for you guys to check out. So thanks again, and just keep your eyes and ears on us.